Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at lulu.com today. Marvel Studios star Tenoch Huerta has been accused of sexual assault. Now, according to reports, a Mexican saxophonist, Maria Elena Rios, alleges that Tenoch Huerta allegedly sexually assaulted her, and she says that the activist organization that she was a part of, Poder Prieto, with Tenoch Huerta, made an active effort to allegedly cover up the entire event. Now, according to Maria Elena Rios, Tenoch Huerta allegedly sexually assaulted her, and she also made commentary on this on social media, talking about how Tenoch Huerta allegedly sexually assaulted her, and also talked about how the organization they were a part of, Poder Prieto, a collective of actors and members of the media who were supposedly working to combat racism in the entertainment industry, made efforts to try to go out here and cover up everything as related to this assault, and also says that Poder Prieto made her work for free and never compensated her. Now, this whole incident is quite disturbing because this allegation of a sex crime is very similar to allegations that were made against Ezra Miller over at Warner Brothers. And if these allegations are true, it is quite troubling that another actor who was a part of a superhero franchise is tied to extremely disturbing criminal behavior. Now, I have to wonder, is the media going to cover the story on Tenoch Huerta with the same intensity that they did against Jonathan Majors, a black actor who had allegations against him as related to domestic violence? Because the mainstream media on Jonathan Majors went out here and went into a frenzy as related to the allegations of domestic violence that Jonathan Majors was arrested on. However, with Tenoch Huerta, I'm not really seeing the same kind of coverage, and it's making me really look at this media with a side eye. The Hispanic man is dealing with allegations of a sex crime similar to that of Ezra Miller, and it's looking like the mainstream media is looking to go out here and sweep it under the rug. Meanwhile, Jonathan Majors is being punished both in criminal court as related to trumped up charges made by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and also having to deal with women coming forward with allegations that he participated in domestic violence, trying to create and coordinate a narrative to try to make Jonathan Majors into a black brute, a violent, out of control black man who participates in violence for the sake of it, even though the entire incident as related to Jonathan Majors was recorded inside of the Uber he was driving in, and the actions of the white girlfriend were done inside of an apartment while Jonathan Majors was not there, according to him. And now Jonathan Majors is dealing with a whole situation where his entire career is being put in jeopardy. Jonathan Majors, as a result of these domestic violence allegations, has lost multiple jobs as related to advancing what was considered to be a promising career, because Jonathan Majors was well on his way to becoming the next Denzel Washington and was this close to commanding $20 million a picture until this domestic violence scandal wound up breaking out and basically costing him multiple gigs. And again, I have to wonder if Hollywood will go out here and punish Tenoch Huerta at this, as related to these allegations, the same way they did Jonathan Majors as related to the allegations of domestic violence, because I find it interesting that when white and non-black men are alleged to have sex crimes which are more heinous than what was presented as related to Jonathan Majors, there is a clear double standard, because in the case of Ezra Miller, he has been allowed to not only stay in his role as the Flash, but he has Warner Brothers and David Zaslav standing behind him, even though he has been alleged to have committed numerous crimes, such as grooming a child, participating in violent assaults on women, and even burglary. Ezra Miller has been given a complete pass, and his movie is still allowed to be considered one of the biggest movies of the year. And I have to wonder if Tenoch Huerta will be given the same pass as related to these allegations. I have to wonder if the mainstream media will go out of its way to go out here and give Tenoch Huerta a similar pass, because it's looking to me like blue leftist Hollywood is showing how much of a racist it is and how much of a hypocrite it is as related to Jonathan Majors and black men. Because with Jonathan Majors and black men, they are presented as guilty until being proven innocent. They are being presented as the bad guy. They are being presented as villains, and they are being presented as real life villains, and they are being punished for it. Meanwhile, a Hispanic man like Tenoch Huerta, they have an allegation against him, and it's really interesting because we have two guys in the MCU, and both of these guys in the MCU seem like they're getting different coverage, and it seems like they're getting different treatment. Now, what's really interesting to me is that Tenoch Huerta was part of an organization that was supposed to be combating racism in the entertainment industry, and he was a part of this group of activists, but it looks like this activist basically wasn't looking to, as related to Maria Elena Rios' allegations, go out here and look to stay true to his character, because these activists say that they were about fighting racism in the entertainment industry. But if this allegation is true, then it looks like Tenoch Huerta was basically a hypocrite. He's sitting there saying he's about social justice, but he's participating in alleged injustice against this woman. Now, again, I take what she's saying with a grain of salt, because there are a lot of women out here as part of the Me Too movement who have been making allegations against men as an effort to go out here and get attention for themselves. Moreover, many of those women, as they're making these allegations against these men, are looking to get a payday at those men's expense. So I know that this whole situation with Tenoch Huerta could be one that could be orchestrated by the saxophonist in order to elevate her career and get attention for herself. But again, when I look at this whole case, again, I'm starting to see a double standard, because there isn't all this chatter about replacing Tenoch Huerta on projects. There's not all of this plans to cancel Tenoch Huerta projects, and there isn't that chatter about the MCU, because now the MCU has two men with villainous allegations made against them, and I have to wonder if both of them will be allowed to remain in the MCU, because the whole thing is that I'm seeing a triple standard, one for white men like Louis C.K., where a documentary about him basically just goes away, one for brown or non-black men like Tenoch Huerta, where they try to minimize the coverage of allegations, but where black men like Jonathan Majors, there are efforts to make him into the bad guy and go out here and try this man in the court of public opinion. And the reason why they're again trying Jonathan Majors in the court of a public opinion, I believe primarily is because he was involved with a white female, and what they wanted to do was send a message that if you get involved with a white female, the media arm of white supremacy is going to actively go out here and punish you, and the media arm of white supremacy is going to go out here and punish you for going out here and violating their unwritten social rules, because while those on the blue left say that they're tolerant, while those on the blue left say that they are accepting of things, they participate in the same anti-black racism, and they do it by going out here and actively demonizing a black man like a Jonathan Majors, because I find it interesting again that while this organization that Maria Elena Rios and Tenoch Huerta are part of are participating in the classic SJW eating their own, there's still a campaign to go out here and destroy the career of Jonathan Majors. I just find it interesting that this story is being covered differently And again, when I look at this, again, it's a very troubling situation because we've got another actor in the MCU not acting like a superhero, but acting like a supervillain. And as they act like a supervillain, it's really, again, really showing a sign that something's wrong over at the MCU, and something's wrong over at the MCU that Kevin Feige really needs to get a hold of, because again, this is the second actor in the MCU to run into a scandal. So this is not looking good overall for the MCU. I mean, this one came out of nowhere as related to the story, and this one came out of nowhere. And again, most people, they probably won't talk about this, but again, I find it interesting that you've got these activists making these allegations, and she's saying that he's a sexual predator. And I find, again, that's interesting that you have this woman, Maria Elena Rios, making these statements, and the media downplaying it. And again, they make these statements about black men like Jonathan, about Bill Cosby. And again, I bring up Cosby once again because these are the same type of allegations made against Bill Cosby, but we don't see the hard, heavy media coverage the same way we have against Bill Cosby and Jonathan Majors. Again, showing me that there's a double standard in the media, and it shows me, again, a double standard that people really need to take a hard critical look at, because I just find it interesting that Tenoch Huerta, the Namor, is out here and he's got these allegations, and again, the coverage is completely different. Again, I'm looking at this case, and it's really making the mainstream media suspect, because we're seeing multiple standards as related to white guys like Louis C.K., Hispanic and non-black guys like Tenoch Huerta, and black guys like Jonathan Majors. So when I look at this whole incident, again, it is a troubling one, and it's a case that I will be continuing to follow, because this, again, could show that there is something, again, proving more points about there being racism in the mainstream media, because the way Jonathan Majors has been treated has been egregious, and the way Jonathan Majors has been presented. Again, we have one of his co-stars in the MCU, and nobody's really talking bad about him the way they did about Jonathan Majors, and again, showing me how the mainstream media continues to participate in anti-black racism in the media it presents. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, featuring action-packed black fantasy like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, and my vampire novel Eternal Night, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos about the MCU and the entertainment industry, you can send a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now available in paperback and e-readers. John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.